I guess jumping ahead to middle, what have you seen on tape from them? Just looking at box scores, looks like they're struggling to score a little bit, but don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, I think what really stands out right away, Jeff, is they have really upgraded their talent. I think their athleticism, especially on the perimeter, and their ability to guard on the perimeter really stands out. They get after the basketball, really aggressive defensively. I think they have great size up front. A player that some of our fans might remember is Dishman, who was a transfer from Eastern Kentucky, who had a terrific game here at the CFSB Center back in the 2017-18 season. He's back off a knee injury from last year. Really can score in the post. Physical, has gained, put on a lot of muscle since that. We saw him 3 years ago. They have a 6'10" transfer from Northwestern who's very skilled. So I think their physicality, their athleticism, and their ability to pressure defensively really stand out. And we'll have to be prepared for that certainly on Wednesday.
I'm sure every game is a case-by-case basis, but in terms of travel, are you guys down and back same day, or are you going the day ahead? What's the plan for you guys?
No, our plan is to practice here tomorrow, to travel late to stay in a hotel on Tuesday night, and then we'll have a shoot-around at Middle Tennessee on Wednesday morning, and then return immediately after the game.
Coach, you've already talked a little bit about Middle's pressure. To expand on that for some numbers, they've given up 17% from three in 2 games and created 23 steals. And that's not to mention the unforced turnovers that they've created. Did a game like Sunday's up and down blitz help with what maybe Middle Tennessee will show in the half court?
I hope so, just the pressure piece of it. But when you look at Middle, you're going to see obviously a lot more size, length, and athleticism on the perimeter. And it starts with their ability to pressure the point guard, guys like Schuler, who can really, Charleston Southern transfer, he can really get after the basketball. And then I think for us, the pressure in the half court will be different. It's not so much the traps. Middle doesn't trap or full court press. But as you mentioned, to force 23 steals, it's all through just their relentless half-court pressure defensively with their man-to-man.
Just we talked about it before the season, but what did you find any challenges in coaching wearing a mask last night, just in terms of communicating and stuff like that?
I did not. I've been going through and trying out the different versions that are out there. I've got another one on the way. You've seen the SEC football coaches have this new mask, so I'm going to try that one out. But I didn't have any issues yesterday at all.
Have you talked to your guys about energy and sort of having the onus is really on them to bring their own juice, I guess, as they say, with no crowd, home or away, to sort of to lean on?
I think so. I think that's really important, Jeff, whether you have a crowd or not, that your bench is really invested in the game, that we're cheering each other on. We're always standing and encouraging each other. I think that's really important. And so now, even more so, because you're not going to have much game day atmosphere this season, I think it's critical. But, for the players, as I always tell them, you're very limited in how many opportunities you get to play, whether it's this season or any other year. I think we all know there are 365 days in the year. This year we have the opportunity to play 25 times. Normal year it's 29 to 31 times. So you better take full advantage of every one of those game days, and I expect our players to do that. But I think it's like your preseason scrimmage almost. And a few years ago we went down. I guess that would have been Ja's sophomore year. We went down and scrimmaged at Ole Miss. We scrimmaged last year against Indiana State. It's a similar type environment to that, and so I think our guys are just thankful to be playing, and we're lucky here to have any fans at all in the stands. So we're very appreciative to be able to have some of our fans and our player families there to cheer us on.
Speaking of Ja, since he was in attendance last night, did he get to speak to the team afterward? And if he did, what did he have to say?
No, but they have a group chat. It's really, I think, one of the unique things about Murray State, and one of the reasons you see the consistent tradition of winning here. The former players are so invested in the program that they have their group chats going, and it's not always encouragement in the group chat. The former players will make sure to hold the current players accountable to the defensive standards that we have in the program, to how hard you're expected to play. And so I think Ja, Shaq, Stark, multiple former players are in constant communication with our team, good and bad.
Coach, last year you saw the ball handling duties really kind of rotate between guys like Chico, Jaquan, even Tevin in certain situations. Last night we saw Justice Hill for about 16 to 18 minutes add to that sort of rotation of ball handlers. What does Justice bring maybe to the offense and to the transition that those other three guys don't?
I don't compare players in that respect, but I certainly happy to speak to the strengths that Justice brings to our team. I think you saw last night just a short preview of his speed, his quickness, his athleticism on the floor, his ability to create for others off the dribble. He can consistently make catch and shoot threes. And then I think when you see us get into a normal style of game, I hope you'll see his ability to defend and pressure the other team's point guard will be beneficial to our half-court defense this year.
Justice said last night you guys didn't run one offensive set all night, which I guess watching wasn't a big surprise. But from that standpoint, what are you most interested to see on Wednesday, just in terms when it gets into a half-court game and you guys need to run offense?
Well, I think, Jeff, for us, I'd have to do the math, but somewhere around 275 days since we played a Division I game against another team. So I think seeing our ability, are we going to be able to execute against Middle Tennessee's pressure defense? Are we going to be able to run offense? Are we going to be able to take care of the ball? Are we going to have the balance of inside scoring and perimeter shooting that we would like to have? I think Middle presents a great test for our team. It's our first road trip of the year. So I'm probably like all of our fans, I'm anxious to see where we stand right now at this point of the season with our first major test on Wednesday.
Walk-ons can go a whole career and not score 12 points. And Rod Thomas had a career last night. Just from the standpoint of a kid who, practices when walk-ons practices or their games, but to get an opportunity on the stage and to see all his teammates be so supportive of that, from your seat, what did you see last night?
Well, I think the teammates of Rod would tell you the same. I don't categorize him any differently than any other player on the team. And I think Rod has been terrific for our program. He has a love for Murray State that I think is important. But even more importantly than that, he's a guy you know what you're going to get every single day. And I think there's so much value in that consistency that he brings because he's going to work extremely hard. It's important for him to contribute to the team's success. And so, those certainly were not charity minutes yesterday by any means. He's earned everything that he gets, and has had a great impact on this year's team already in practice, because he's a great competitor, and he has a really, and he didn't get to see it last night. He scored some around the basket, but Rod can really shoot the basketball. So, I was really happy for him to get to have that success on the game floor.
Coach, of all the eye-popping numbers yesterday, and there were several, of course, in a game like that, but I want to go back to Justice. His 10 rebounds, I thought really jumped out to me. This is a guy with an incredible vertical and seemed to be in the right spot at the right time. And in the past, you've always talked about how you want your point guards to continue to rebound with relentless effort. Is he going to be one of those guys that's crashing the boards this year with your front court?
I hope so, Ed. I think point guard rebounding at the defensive end of the floor is really important for a couple reasons, and not to get too technical, but the majority of teams in the country, their point guard, when they're on offense, is responsible for getting back on defense. So you usually don't have to account for him as someone who needs to be boxed out, and it allows your point guard to run free and be an extra defensive rebounder. So I think it's important to take advantage of that, number one. Number two, if your point guard does rebound defensively for you, it just jumpstarts your transition game and your fast break game even quicker, because obviously you don't have to worry about getting an outlet pass from your big man. So I do think that's very important for us. I think we have great size in our front court, but we need our guards to be very good defensive rebounders for sure.